powered by artificial intelligence.
Today's AI desk has a clear theme. Enterprise agents are becoming operating systems for work. Anthropic launched Claude Opus 4.8 for coding, agents, and professional work. Anthropic also announced a giant Series H funding round. OpenAI published a frontier governance framework. Mistral turned LuChat into Vibe and announced a production search toolkit. GitHub added Opus 4.8 to Copilot. This is not a day of random features. It is a day about agents moving into serious workflows. Multi-step work, retrieve enterprise knowledge, use tools, carry context, and operate under governance. The agent era is not just about smarter answers. It is about reliable action inside business systems. The lead story is Claude Opus 4.8. Anthropic describes it as a hybrid reasoning model that pushes the frontier for coding and AI agents, with a 1 million token context window. The company says Opus 4.8 is stronger across coding, agentic tasks, and professional work, with the consistency and autonomy to keep working on long-running tasks. The headline is not just bigger context. It is sustained work. Anthropic says Opus 4.8 is available for Claude Pro, Max, Team, and Enterprise users. Developers can use it through the Claude platform, and Anthropic says it is also available natively in Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Foundry. Pricing starts at $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens, according to Anthropic's model page. Anthropic positions Opus 4.8 for work where performance matters most. Professional software engineering, complex agentic workflows, and high-stakes enterprise tasks. The page specifically points to advanced coding, AI agents, and enterprise workflows across spreadsheets, slides, documents, and multi-day projects. In other words, Anthropic is selling Opus 4.8 as a premium workhorse, not a casual assistant. The second Anthropic story is the funding round. Anthropic says it raised $65 billion in Series H funding led by Altimeter Capital, Dragoner, Green Oaks, and Sequoia Capital. The company says the round values Anthropic at $965 billion post-money. That is an enormous number, so keep the source framing clear. This is Anthropic's own announcement. Anthropic says its run rate revenue crossed $47 billion earlier this month. It also says the new capital will advance safety and interpretability research, expand compute for Claude demand, and scale products and partnerships. Whether you focus on the valuation or the compute, the signal is the same. Frontier AI is becoming a capital-intensive enterprise infrastructure business. OpenAI's May 28th announcement is governance. The company published its Frontier Governance Framework, which it says explains how its safety and security practices align with emerging legal requirements. OpenAI specifically references California's Transparency in Frontier AI Act and the European Union AI Act's Code of Practice for General-Purpose AI. This is the trust and compliance layer catching up to frontier systems. OpenAI says the framework covers risk assessment and mitigation across cyber offense, CBRN risks, harmful manipulation, and loss of control. It also covers model reporting, security risk management, incident response, external expert input, and framework updates. The key point is that governance is no longer just a policy PDF on the side. It is becoming a visible part of Frontier AI product strategy. Mistral's AI Now Summit is the broad enterprise stack story. Mistral announced Mistral for Industrial Engineering, an integrated AI stack combining advanced physics models, engineering expertise, and robotics for mission-critical industrial operations. Mistral says it is working with Airbus, BMW Group, and ASML. It also announced a Les Ulis 10-megawatt site dedicated to inference operations, scheduled to open in the third quarter of 2026. Mistral is not only talking about a model release here, it is talking about industrial engineering, partnerships, and direct inference capacity. That matters because enterprise AI is increasingly tied to control. Control over proprietary data, intellectual property, production environments, latency, and compute supply. Mistral is positioning itself as a full-stack European AI company for critical workflows. Mistral also announced that LuChat is now Vibe. The company describes Vibe as one agent and one license across work and code, with conversations, settings, and plans carried over. Mistral says Vibe catches up across inbox and calendar, runs deep research, drafts deliverables, and orchestrates recurring processes. This is the agent as workspace pattern. Vibe's work mode is available on web and mobile. Mistral says it maps out a plan, gets sign-off before it starts, and works across connectors to carry the task through. The company lists enterprise knowledge search across Google Workspace, Outlook, SharePoint, Slack, GitHub, custom connectors, and libraries. That is the practical heart of enterprise agents: permissions, context, and tool transparency. For coding, Mistral says Code Mode launches remote coding agents from a dedicated web surface. It also announced a Vibe extension for VS Code and updates to the Vibe CLI. The agent can work across a whole project, read files, edit code, execute commands, and bring context from tools like GitHub, GitLab, Jira, or Linear. This puts Mistral directly into the coding agent race. Mistral's search toolkit is the RAG infrastructure story. Mistral says it is releasing Search Toolkit in public preview as a composable framework for production search pipelines for AI applications. The company says it unifies ingestion, retrieval, and evaluation under a shared interface, so teams spend less time maintaining integrations and more time improving search quality. This matters because agents need reliable context. Mistral says Search Toolkit is open source and runs in cloud, on-premises, or edge environments. It includes BM25 sparse retrieval, dense embedding retrieval, hybrid configurations, and built-in evaluation metrics like recall, precision, MRR, and NDCG. That evaluation piece is critical. If a RAG system fails, teams need to know whether retrieval or generation broke. Mistral's framing is especially useful. Agents working on enterprise tasks need access to enterprise context. They need index search across large corpora, and they also need live data from source systems through connectors. That is the architecture many businesses are converging on: a high-quality search path for stable knowledge, plus live retrieval for current state. GitHub's Changelog makes the Opus 4.8 story immediately practical for developers. GitHub says Claude Opus 4.8 is now available in GitHub Copilot, with access for Copilot Pro Plus, business, and enterprise users. GitHub says rollout will be gradual, and business and enterprise administrators need to enable the Claude Opus 4.8 policy in Copilot settings. GitHub says users can select Opus 4.8 across VS Code, Visual Studio, Copilot CLI, GitHub Copilot Cloud Agent, the Copilot app, GitHub.com, GitHub Mobile, JetBrains, Xcode, and Eclipse. It also says the model launches with a 15 times premium request multiplier until usage-based billing launches on June 1st. For coding teams, the model wars are now showing up directly in the tools they already use. The pattern today is clean. Anthropic is pushing an agent-capable frontier model. GitHub is putting that model into developer workflows. Mistral is building an agent product layer with Vibe and a retrieval layer with Search Toolkit. OpenAI is publishing governance for frontier systems. The serious AI race is no longer only model versus model. It is model plus workflow plus context plus controls. Here is what to watch next. First, whether these agents can complete long-running work without creating review burden. Second, whether token costs and compute supply can support enterprise-scale usage. Third, whether governance becomes a real product constraint, not just a public statement. Today's announcements are impressive, but the test is boring and practical. Can teams trust these systems with repeatable work? That is today's desk. Enterprise agents are here, but the winners will not be decided by the flashiest demo. They will be decided by reliability, search quality, tool control, governance, cost, and how cleanly these systems fit into the work people already do. Less magic show, more operating system. That is the May 28th signal.